I was curious if we are going to have a meeting this week. Looks like at least a few people wanted to hang out. So we're at the 5 after mark. No agenda here. So what do folks want to talk about today?
No agenda. I'm good calling it.
Can always be a quick meeting. Those are the best ones. Sajay, you're famous for wanting to call a meeting quick and then have an agenda item you want to mention later on.
No, I'm not going to do that today. Thanks for the blog. I think that's out, right?
Yeah, got a second approver on there, so I went ahead and hit merge on it.
Okay.
So now we can finally tell people that we did this thing a couple months ago. Officially, I think I have the power to merge without any approvers, but I at least like to get a few people that give a thumbs up, even if they're not maintainers on that repo. Hey there, Toddy. We were just talking about whether we want to wrap this up early or not today. Any agenda items on your plate that you'd like to discuss?
Hey, not really. Actually, I have agenda items, but I don't think I'm prepared to talk about this.
It's the best way to show up to a meeting. Someone's just like, okay, what do you got?
Yeah, I have a lot of things that I want to talk about. Like things like tag history, things like API for listing all the digests, all these things.
We were chatting about that a couple weeks ago about what a good tag listing V2 API would look like. And threw a couple wish list items on there. So that has been discussed.
I'm pretty sure Sajay is active in those discussions because I know we are talking about it almost every other day with him.
Yeah, I did mention it last week, mildly saying that I really badly want the tag history API. So
yeah.
I think what we're between is for the tag history stuff, how much of that is all one API and how much of that are we talking about maybe 3 different APIs for some of the stuff we're looking at? Would you hit, instead of tag list, would you hit a tag history and pass it a specific tag or something along those lines? But yeah, other than that, I was looking to scroll back, but the HackMD is being funny, which means I probably need to archive a year's worth of notes here. We're at that point. There it is. Features and presentation items. That was on the March 14th meeting that we were chatting about that. HackMD doesn't do funny stuff scrolling. I can actually give you a link. There we are. So in that meeting with all the Zoom chat and everything else and other meetings causing a clutter, we were talking about listing the untagged manifest, whether we wanted to have some kind of search API to query by annotation, artifact type. There was also a question of, do we want to be able to query? I'm not sure if that got mentioned there, but I know we mentioned before, do almost like a reverse tag listing of tell me all the tags that include this digest or point to this digest, or all the manifests that point to this digest. And then the tag history one as well. So there been multiple suggestions, and now it just involves, do we turn that into a quick PR and see what people say about that? And I have a feeling if we do try to go straight to a PR, it's going to be a draft PR and give folks some time to try to implement this and see if they like it. And then if we hit a point that we really want to discuss things, maybe it turns into a full-blown working group. But figure out, see if we can short circuit that process.
Sajay, are you up for creating a PR?
Yeah, I mean, what we were discussing is we would first list out the basic requirements, like the goal is not just to create a tag history API. The goal would be like we can achieve XYZ. And so otherwise, in the end, we can argue that this API would have this shape and not. But if it's not with the goal, we can at least give a clear guidelines and cut it out in some cases. So I was thinking of at least doing a rough scenario proposal doc similar to what Brandon had for the artifacts. Like when we started, we had like, hey, these are the primary goals, and maybe try with that.
Do we have an issue for these things? So
the idea was to, like, the issue might have a PR, might end up with a working group altogether. That's what we'll kind of open it in such a way that this might lead, or at least have the discussion, do we need a working group for this? I'm thinking it can be a short one, and then kind of like, even if it is a working group, we probably want to iterate faster.
If I did it as just a PR, I was going to start with just a minimum viable PR of, this is the minimal JSON that we all agree that we want, but make sure there's some kind of JSON format, not just a list of strings, because we want to be able to extend this in the future. And so as people push for more features, we would have some structure we can put it within. We're not limited to just what we create on day one.
okay, I have one thing. I don't know whether you discussed in that kind of context, but have we thought of like not only the tag history, but who created or did the retagging as an actor? Like whether that's, let's say, Docker client, or did it come from some other client or something like this? Because I started hearing this request because they want to know, like, not only like what is the tag history as, for example, this digest, the tag pointed to this digest today, to that other digest tomorrow, but also like what client did that change?
I don't think I've heard that one, but I also wonder how effective that would be.
I also wonder how effective that would be, and where, like, still trying to figure out like how it will be used. But it seems that there may be some usage of that to say like, okay, is that for example, expected change? I'm talking like we are having some discussions also with how we can store tough metadata in the OCI registries. And in that discussion is like, okay, who created it, like just to be able to say, okay, I do not trust this person or this actor or this tool that created the tag.
If it's an identity, I feel like that would be easier. The tool is difficult because, like, for Reg Client, I've had people ask if they can change the client header. And so I give them the option because apparently some tools they want to will block anything other than the Docker client. And so they just override the Reg client header to say, I'm Docker.
That's cheating.
It's just a user agent.
Yeah.
I default to say who I think it is, but anybody that wants to put a user agent in a HTTP header can put the user agent to whatever they want to say.
The thing that you're saying that some people want to trust only the Docker client, I hear that too. And now that you're actually telling me that I can use the rec client to impersonate the Docker client, I don't think those people will be happy about this.
It's the same problem that curl has.
Yeah.
People go through effort to block curl as a client that will query a web page, and all people do is just change the header that says I'm Chrome.
Yeah.
And it's
I
an HTTP
agree.
header. You can set whatever you
Yeah,
want to set it
you
to.
can
The
set
client
whatever you want.
can the client can be well behaved, and the client can lie. That's why I question how effective that would be.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's why listing down the scenarios would be important, because what are you trying to do with the identity would be the question, right? Like, is it
Yes.
producing some audit history, then becomes a bunch of security questions, like what's the strength of it? How do you prove it? Or if it's just a weak field that people can stuff it in, then we kind of like have to have this disclaimer that, yeah, this is just another field, just as a random JSON extension, things like that. So
Yeah, that's actually a fair point.
I've got a browser plugin for Firefox that lets me change what browser I look like I'm showing up as.
If we are going on that tangent, I want to actually computer plugin that constantly randomizes my fingerprint. So
Not unlike the iPhone that keeps changing the MAC address every time it talks to a different wireless network.
yeah, exactly. Okay, Sajay, I can sync with you, and eventually we can go and draft a couple of scenarios.
yeah,
Next
I've
time.
also kind of, Brandon, did you start something on this already?
We have just been brainstorming in the meeting minutes so far.
Okay.
If I start something, it'll be a PR, it'll be a minimum viable product, and it
Okay.
will be pushed as just a draft. Because before we do any kind of merging, I would like to see a couple implementations and people giving it thumbs up from different places. But the goal would be to short circuit the whole, do we need a full working group to do something like this or not?
Okay, makes sense. Thanks, Brandon.
You bet. Any other agenda for today, or should we wrap it up early and give people 40 plus minutes back? I think it was already going to be light today just because this is Open Source Summit week, so a lot of meetings got canceled and everybody just took the assumption no meetings, everybody run off.
Okay, see you, folks.
right.
Have a nice week.
Take care. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.